everyone, this is Greyshot17.
Hey, and Greyshot151 here.
And today we're going over the US Commander tier list, Redux. This is the 2022 and most likely final version of myself and 151 going over these commanders. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our last two, the OKW and the British, as we were... I have to make one quick correction. Yeah, so someone pointed out that the British can't drop weapons to other people. That's my bad. I thought you still could, but yeah, that's my bad.
Look, we don't really play the British too much. We have some experience with them, but our factions that have preference when it comes to the Allies are easily the Soviets and the Americans. 100%.
I feel that we should put all the blame on Delta, who constantly plays the British for not informing us.
Yeah, it's obviously Delta's fault. 100%.
Yes, obviously our good friend Delta. That's who's at fault. So put down in the chat, it's all Delta's fault. Anyway, we got ourselves numerous commanders to go over, so let's get to it. The first one, and I feel like the less controversial one out of this bunch, is going to be going over the Airborne commander. I would easily put this in, I would say, it's A or S tier for me. I'll leave it in A, but I'll say the Pathfinder...
It's S tier if the enemy doesn't have AA.
Yeah, I would say it's maybe a low S tier. The positives, you get, no matter what you go, whether it is the lieutenant or the captain, you can get yourself a 50 cal machine gun or an AT gun. Relatively cheap cost. You could reman it with a rear echelon, which most likely you'll have. The Pathfinders are very good, especially with bars. These aren't the ones with IRs, but still they are very, very excellent. The IR direct strike. The paratroopers are fantastic versing infantry with their LMGs, close range with their Thompsons, and I believe these ones still get the bazooka upgrade bonus, where if you give them bazookas, they get damage and penetration bonuses. So
very true.
Plus, the airstrike itself is notorious for being very powerful versing Axis armor, especially in mass. So I have a bias toward it. I don't find any detriments to any of these units. Even though I think maybe the Pathfinder for the IR version is slightly better, everything else in this doctrine is great. I don't have an issue with it. I'm slowly convincing myself S tier is the way to go. You?
Yeah, especially if you have a lot of munitions. This is a fantastic commander. It's not the best commander. That goes to another one. But in regards to what it can do, you get elite infantry that can mow down Fallschirmjägers. You get, which is something, especially with this meta where the Fallschirmjägers are very common. It's a great choice. You have our Pathfinders are okay, or not their IR, but the Pathfinders are okay. Again, you can heal on the front, especially with your paratroopers. But again, not like they're like in regards to like a unit, maybe a B, like an A-, something like that. The real star is that 50 cal machine gun, because that will shred. When the enemy doesn't suspect that the Americans have a machine gun, because to be honest, no one, like, especially in a 3v3 or 4v4 setting, most people go for the anti-tank gun. So if you don't like tip the enemy off that you're going this doctrine, you just show up with a 50 cal machine gun. I mean, of course, it's a drop, so they'll notice something's up. But like, if you can put that on the enemy and just send a whole bunch of like grenadiers or Volk to retreat, oh my god, it's amazing. It suppresses so well. It's got armor-piercing rounds. The anti-tank gun is also just fantastic because you can get to the front ASAP. And I cannot tell you how many times I'm like about to bring my American AT gun out, and immediately a scout car just shows up. I'm like, if only there was 30 seconds sooner. But this, you just get to the front, you're going. And let's be honest, everyone has an ambulance on the front, so you can easily heal it, equip it, like with a rear echelon or something. So the rocket strike is inconsistent. I've seen it blast infantry apart by accident. I've also seen it kill some, heavy vehicles. But then I've seen it like go after AA for no reason. So it's a bit inconsistent, but still very powerful. So overall, I would say it's like an S-, but still an S tier.
Yeah, I would say it's S tier. Now we get to another commander, which is notorious with me, and that would be Armor Company. Now, 151, where do you think I'm going to put this commander?
I don't see an F on here, so it's not F. Probably a D based on your track record using it, though I'm going to give my own opinion after you vent.
I'm actually going to put it in B tier.
Oh, Really? I thought I was gonna have to argue with that in regards to B tier
No.
because like
So-
the assault grens, especially like Liam Forest early on, close quarters, great.
Yeah.
The Sherman, you know, it can go either way, and the Wolverine is kind of hot trash, but you know, it has its perks. You know, there are moments.
It's
like
good at running over infantry, but that's like a neat side gimmick rather than
very
anything else.
niche. Very niche.
My rationale: the bulldozer and the direct strike have been upgraded. The direct strike, the 240 barrage will actually hit center to target, so it actually will take out artillery. And you have a decent direct strike option combined with a peppering of artillery in a certain area. You also have the bulldozer, which has been buffed up a little bit, so it's better against infantry. The assault engineers are always useful, so again, they're not as powerful as Sturms, but in good cover, they can do a good work. I don't know why vehicle upgrade for Thompsons is even there. It's stupid. It's like, man, Sherman or my vehicle crew with Thompsons. You know what? I'm going to decrew my Sherman and have them on the front. Like, no, you would never do that. So that perk is useless in my mind, which brings it down substantially. And the Wolverine brings it down because it is okay.
No one's going to get that unless you're like... I could see this in a 1v1 or a 2v2 setting where you like desperately need it. And again, Armor Company is definitely better in those situations. But we're looking at this at a 3v3 or 4v4, and the value for a 3v3 or 4v4 is the assault, the early assault ability of this for close quarters combat, and
the assault engineers,
bulldozer Sherman, and the direct strike. So yeah,
that is in I think it's advanced powers.
Yeah, I think it's A in like 1v1 or 2v2, probably.
Yeah,
an A. But in 3v3 or 4v4, it's a B.
All right. Now let's go down. Can you pick the? Sorry, I'm just going down because I'm assuming you have the list open.
Yep.
Why don't we? Do you want to cover the heavy cav or do you want to cover tac support?
Let's go heavy cav.
All right, heavy cav. I would put A tier. Because Rangers are fantastic infantry that demolish most things against them. Combine that with smoke to get around enemy defenses, which is pretty good. A little expensive being 50, but I think the Germans get a 40 smoke.
Yeah.
So it's a little more expensive.
It doesn't come with Recon either. It's just a drop.
Yeah. So for cost benefit, this ability is actually a little more expensive. The Pershing I don't think is... I mean, it's very good against infantry, and I don't think it's necessarily that too bad, but it's not one. If I'm thinking of top 3 heavy tanks, it's not in that list. It's a good heavy tank, but I don't think it's one of the best heavy tanks. I also think the fighting position, while great for building with the infantry on the front line, it's a good ability. The mines are also a nice touch, but again, I don't think that ability itself pushes it very far. But again, if anything is just slightly more expensive or just maybe not as worth it, I will say the ability for the armor and infantry to get bonuses together, that's a nice little bonus ability that can be very beneficial if you have a large army attacking. If you have 2 separate armies, not so much. But if you have one infantry and armor group together that provide bonuses to each other, then yeah, it can definitely push a little bit. But again, I think the most you can do is A tier, and I think that's off the back of the Rangers, which even with in 4v4 with bazookas or Thompsons, they can demolish infantry and armor alike. Yep. But 151, your thoughts?
I have to go. I don't think this deserves to be A tier in a 3v3 or 4v4 setting, and here is why. The Pershing is great in 1v1 or 2v2 because in a 1v1, it can smoke a Panzer IV like no one's business. But the problem is, in a Panther, it honestly, it's like the IS-2. It's like a heavy tank that on paper should be able to crush the Panther, but it just doesn't. It's very much uncertain in that regard. I think it could fight a Tiger just because it's easier to pen, but like, not the Panther, which is the most common late game Axis heavy tank, or like, oh, not heavy tank, late game Axis tank. When it comes to the infantry, I'm not going to argue with you. Rangers are fantastic, and the smoke is expensive for what it is specifically because it's 50 munitions. You don't even get a recon; it just drops, which is good. But like, a lot of the times, I'd like a little bit of extra recon with that. I mean, you get it with the major, but it's just nice to have that double up. So it's a bit weak in that regard. and then you're really not helping your team out in this situation. The combined arms benefits you, but it doesn't really benefit your team. So in a
it's a very good 1v1
setting, this is the perfect example of a commander that is great when it's just you. It gives the Americans the ability to have a heavy tank, gives you some elite infantry, gives you smoke. It's good in a 1v1 setting because you can't count on anyone other than yourself, or 2v2 in that situation where your options are more limited. In a 3v3 or 4v4, what I'm looking for in regards to is how do you support your team, and is what you have better than the other things that you could have acquired. And compared to other doctrines, I just can't. I would disagree in this regard. I don't like. You don't have any call-ins. You don't have anything. It's if you suck and you use this, then you are just an extra drain on your team. So I would say this is a B. A B. I would actually argue that Armor Company is better than that doctrine.
Okay, under your stance and principle of a combined team effort, I will agree and bring it down to B tier. Yeah. And actually, I will agree your Armor Company is better because of its team dynamic in a 3v3 and 4v4. However, I will not go lower.
No. I think B is perfect. I think B is exactly where you go, because it is. Again, if this was 1v1 or 2v2, I would be singing a completely different tune. I'd be saying this is a high A. Like this gives you access to a lot. But in this,
sorry. So instead of tech support, I meant to say recon support. Where would you put that?
Recon support has the IR Pathfinders, if I'm correct, right? Yes. IR Pathfinders. Oh God, does it has the little.
I don't know what you're doing. I have a cheat sheet to my right.
I'm going off memory, thank you. I'm showing my ability with the game. It has what? The tac support, the bomb, the cluster bombs. It has the what is that? The M8 scout car? What is it called? The utility vehicle?
The Greyhound.
The Greyhound. That's it.
The thing that used to be amazing, and then they nerfed it, and then they tried to kind of bounce it out, but they don't know what to do with it.
This is a hard one. This is a hard one because, like, the call-in alone, I would give, like, an A+S almost.
Yeah.
Because it's the best, and, like, it's a frag bomb, but it hits a wider area, and I've seen it wipe so much stuff. Like,
the IR Dark Strike is also very good.
Oh, yeah, if you can sneak that sucker up, amazing. What else am I missing with this, off the memory?
I mean, the Greyhound is fine. I don't think it's good. I mean, like...
The Greyhound got nerfed. It's like Spec Ops. It used to be fantastic, and it got nerfed.
My stance on this is the Greyhound. I would rather just either get a Sherman or get a Stewart rather than a Greyhound based on what its potential is. Because the Stewart at least has abilities to fight other armor. Yep. Well, the Greyhound is designed against infantry. I feel like the Americans, one of the exceptional things about them is their infantry is so good versus other infantry. Yep. Even against heavier German infantry, they still can go toe-to-toe. With upgrades.
Especially with Bard up.
And I don't think you really want to and especially if you just want to save a little bit more for the Sherman, because it does take a little bit of time to get enough CP for the Greyhound. I think the Sherman would be a better cost-benefit analysis, because then you can at least make sure you can fight off a Panzer IV rather than a Greyhound, which doesn't really have that luxury. I think it can take, like, what, 2, maybe 3 hits and it's dead. And it's not like you're bouncing off shots from a Panzer, typically.
It's like an AT gun where Kens can, like, knock this sucker out real quick. It's just not efficient in regards to the
paradrop abilities. The paradrop ability is not too bad in terms of getting a paratrooper squad, which is not as good as it's paratrooper and a howitzer.
That's really good. That is where I would keep it up in the B category, because getting a howitzer and that infantry dropped at the same time. Obviously, you're not going to equip it using the infantry, but like it's fantastic. It's a great price. It's just later than you would normally get it. It's like a cost, right? It's cheaper because by the time you unlock that certain command point, you're now getting this, and you're kind of trading with munitions for it. So yeah. I think that's fantastic. I think the call-in's fantastic. I would say
B tier.
B or A minus. The call-in and you just reminded me of that drop. I forgot about the drop. That drop is really good. And the I would be willing to say A.
Because technically you could drop the howitzer for your teammate, theoretically, or drop weapons for your teammate. So it does have a bit of a team component. I'll find low A. That's where I would put it.
Okay.
Now, again, because I feel like out of anyone, you would be most appropriate for this one.
Yep.
Rifle Company.
Rifle Company is...
Yeah.
No, Rifle Company is not as good as it used to be. The ability to upgrade your rear echelon with flamethrowers, good, but I prefer the Calliope upgrade in regards to the grenade shot. You have a white phosphorus drop, which is fantastic. You have the Easy 8, which is trash. You have... Oh god, what else do you have? The Rifleman can build fortifications, right?
Yep.
And what am I thinking of? What am I missing? Is it's some kind of...
It's a half track.
Oh, it's the half track, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, if this was, again, a 1v1, I could see this being better. But in a 3v3, 4v4, I think this is our first C tier.
Yeah, there are other doctrines, like, again, the heavy cal, it really does what this wants to do, and it has the better Sherman, it has the better Rifleman upgrade. Every way I look at this, it's just the inferior version of another doctrine. Yep. And the white phosphorus is great, don't get me wrong there, but if I get a howitzer and get it to level 1, I can just constantly spam that. And, again, great combo with fire. But for the Soviets, there's not a lot of people that go fire. So it's kind of a combo that just doesn't happen as much anymore because the IS-2 isn't as good. So the best IS-2 doctrine has the fire drop with the KV. I don't see that combo happening as much. And that's really a necessity for this, right?
Yeah, the British, I would say, does get a fire ability, so before you totally forget about that, it does have that option.
But it cools down. It's slower. It's not like a wider area that comes down.
I agree, but
C
also
tier. I would agree with C tier.
White phosphorus keeps it from falling completely on its face, and I would say also the flamethrowers for echelons. But beyond that,
the Easy 8 getting nerfed really hit this because go with the bulldozer. You want anti-infantry. Easy 8's trying to get the anti-tank. It's like a shittier combat, to be honest. It's just not. I've never had success with it, and maybe that's kind of what's souring my note. But if you're gonna do this, just go Soviets and go the 76 millimeters Sherman. That sucker's rocks.
Now let's talk about a doctrine which I feel is no longer being used, but is still, I think, good. And that's tac support. That's the, which has, again, you have the Calliope in it, you have the P-47 strafe that kind of comes in against infantry, which is really good, by the way, at killing light armored vehicles and or the, just support weaponry. You also get LMGs with infantry, which is pretty solid. The negatives are the dumb half track, again, and also the recon plane, which, again, is... I believe it's a loiter, so it goes around, but the problem is the American Major already has a recon. So you're really just doubling up. I guess if you really want one that stays in the air longer, great. But once Major gets Vet 1, you have 2 planes that can kind of look over a huge portion of the map. So I'm kind of iffy. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's a bad doctrine. But I think another doctrine we'll get to shortly kind of... outshines it in many different aspects, so I'm thinking a high B tier. What do you think?
I'd go with a B tier. I think Armor Company's still better in regards to what you have to surprise, but the call-in is the Calliope. There's better Calliope doctrines, so why are you going this? And the call-in isn't a good call-in, really. It's
no, it is. It's very good.
Is it good?
It is super good.
Okay.
They have buffed it to where the anti-infantry strike does so much against infantry, it'll kill support weapon. I've had GTA and Johnny.
Okay.
Yeah, GTA and Johnny have used this quite effectively against other players from what I've seen in a lot of replays I've casted of them.
I will admit I have not used this doctrine much at all. So I would say B tier. I'm just making note of my lack of use of this, but
I think it's better than Armor Company because the Calliope and also the Strike are very good, and the LMG bonus, specifically in 1919's for American infantry, is also very solid. But But again, I think the biggest two gripes I have is 2 of the 5 commander abilities are stuff you really don't need, or I feel like it's just better variations for. If you want to reinforce ambulance,
It feels like they were like, this feels like the most randomized commander. Like they just like, okay, like they hit the random button and they hit every single one. Like, okay, we're giving him the Calliope and a strafe and I don't know. I don't use it too much, mainly because again there are better commanders. So yeah, I would agree with you on B. I'll let you I'll give I'll let you have guidance on this one.
I should also note that the Calliope is no longer like it used to be the Calliope you would use a Panzer IV to fight it and you would bounce rounds off it. Now they've diminished that capacity and it's easier to kill. So, that takes into account. Otherwise, I would probably move it a little higher into A tier just because Calliope is so good. Speaking of artillery, how's the Priest 151?
Oh, yeah, that's the best commander in the game. Can we just put it up in there in S?
All right, why is
I mean for the Americans. I'm stressing that. It's not like the best in the okay, there is an argument you could have to why this is the best commander for 3v3 or 4v4 setting.
Make the argument. Do it.
Okay, here's the reason why. It has everything you need. Like it covers everything. It shores up all of the problems that you're going to face in a 3v3 or 4v4 setting, and it's like the perfect little bundle.
Except for anti-armor.
You don't need it. The Americans have an answer to most things. They're like the Wehrmacht in that way. Like you need anti-air, you got it. You need rocket arty, you got it. But that's for Wehrmacht. You need like a heavy tank for like bunker busting, Brumbar. In this case, you have the Americans already cover most things. So like this just shores up the one thing that the Americans lack, which is artillery. You don't got rocket arty, but the Priest is basically the OKW's worst nightmare. You can knock out buildings super easily, especially once you get ranked up. It only takes one call-in and 2 Priests doing the 50 munition like staggered creeping barrage, will wipe a base, which can seriously start hurting the enemy's resources. Like if I'm fighting an American and I think they might go Priest, I keep my stuff as far back as possible to minimize that. When it comes to the call-in, perfect. Absolutely perfect for knocking out enemy static emplacements, whether it be a Pack 43 or a direct call-in. It is the best call-in for the Americans, and I would argue the best call-in on the Allies side when it comes to knocking out equipment, next to the IL-2 bomb strike for the Soviets. But it's cheaper. It's 180 munitions, and it's good. You can knock out a tank with this if it's damaged and they're not paying attention. I've done that many a times. Those 2 things, S tier. Easy S tier. The bars, or not the Rs, the LMGs, not as good as they used to be. They're good. Bars. Yeah.
The Major was up my ass being like, they're actually, yes, I know. I refer to them as that. They're 1919s, I know. But they are still very solid against other infantry units, especially in cover and from range.
Yeah, but I want, most of the time, the Americans, you're not defensive, you're offensive. You want to be on the move, and the bars can fire on the move, which is why I prefer them in regards to which option. I mean, the Americans are all about offense and being aggressive, and the Priest I've used even against Wehrmacht just to hit, because usually they always have that half track hanging about on the front line. 2 shots, boom, boom. There goes most of your, it can knock out the truck and a good amount of infantry. So I don't even honestly remember the rest of what's in this, because those are the things I remember. What are the other 2? It's a half track?
Yeah, it's essentially a half track and the fighting position with mines. So the riflemen can place defenses. Yeah, they're pretty solid.
Fighting position is like an A, because it's just something for your riflemen to build and be covered and stuff. Good. The weakest is definitely the half track. It's good, but I don't know. The howitzer, it's good. It's really good. I undervalue it, but it's an A tier. Everything in it is just good. Even if I undervalue the LMGs, they're still an A or a B. So this is just the easiest S in the American tier video. Easy.
Okay, I will say, I don't think it is the best American commander. But I say that because I think out of all purpose, The Airborne one is better. We'll get to that once we go through the final adjustments. But I still think the fighting position of mines are something that people just don't really care about building a lot of fighting positions, and or in a 4v4, I see more Soviets place mines. I see more British place mines, because I feel like what ends up happening is the Americans, require so much munitions for direct strikes or airstrikes, recon, upgrades for your infantry, that you don't have a lot of spare munitions. You don't really use those mines all that much. I push for it, but I get the reason why a lot of people rather upgrade their infantry rather than building a ton of mines. Where the Soviets kind of have a little bit more of a hindrance, so it's easier to build mines, especially early on, because you don't have that much to spend. But we'll get to final placements in a moment. Right now we have 2 more commanders, the first of which is mechanized, which I'm actually going to be a little bit of a contrarian, because I believe we made a whole argument saying that specifically we wanted this doctrine or other doctrines to focus on team cooperation. And this doctrine doesn't necessarily offer that unless you can get some veterancy, but I think it deserves A tier. And I say that
what's in it as to why you think it deserves A tier.
Cav riflemen are very solid against infantry, but they have an anti-tank ability to throw a satchel, which is great for pinning panzers or any sort of major armor with a good satchel ability, without necessarily making it detrimental for the unit like penals do with the PTRS rifle. You also get the the M4C Sherman, which is, in my opinion, a better Sherman than the Easy 8. It is better versus bigger tanks because of its better rounds, and it's good against all targets. That's just, to me, I find it way more effective in that combat ability. I don't think it's as powerful as it used to be, but even with the nerf, it's still very, very good. The little half track you get is super, super solid at demolishing enemy forces. I'm sorry, I forgot about the mortar half track for the infantry company. I mentioned that. The mobile artillery unit that is very, very solid at neutralizing targets with white phosphorus or high explosive rounds and other things like that, in highly mobile. Very, very good. I think that it gets up to A tier, but what do you think?
I would second that. I think the riflemen are the real star of this. Like, without a doubt, the fact that they have the satchel ability and the fact that you can upgrade that, like, they're such powerful riflemen in the right hands, and they do extra damage close range, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah.
Like, you can dominate in the forest. Like, anytime I think of, like, close range infantry Americans, I just think Leanne Forest, and I've been just watching Cav riflemen or the assault rear echelon, like when they just plow through. I'm misnaming that, I know it, but I can't remember the names.
Yeah.
When they go through the forest, they just demolish everything. And in this case, you basically lock down the forest. There's nothing you can do. If they want to send armor into the forest to clear you out, you literally just pop out of trees and just chuck like high explosives. It's amazing. Yep. So I would say this is but in an open field, it's you're kind of out of luck. So
not necessarily, because, and I say this because again, the Shermans are very good. Plus, it is a good fast response unit, which, this is what I mean by veterancy, can be very effective at teamwork. The Jeep can call in artillery strikes that are incredibly powerful. I think it's as strong, or close to as strong, if not the same ability as the direct strike that you get. 180 munitions, direct strike capability, and the Jeep is very, very quick at helping and assisting against other infantry, especially early on. And then you can add in a Cav rifleman in there, give him a close range upgrade, and have him mow down enemy infantry on the run. If you've not seen a lot of my videos where Ace goes the quote-unquote fuck Jeep, I highly recommend it, because it'll show you the power of this thing and how quickly it can kill other infantry units.
Yeah, you're right. The Jeep, especially when you get that close range infantry, because I'm just thinking like running over the plains, but they don't need to run. They literally jump in the back of a car and then gun down any German they see. So I would definitely recommend placing this in low A.
Yes. I also want to point out the fact that the M3 half track is available with this. It's a bonus. If you want it, great. If you don't, that's fine. But the fact that you get that and the Jeep, that's a nice little bonus. It feels like icing on the cake to have that extra unit in case you need it, rather than, oh, this is the only thing you have, right? It's an extra topping rather than one of the main layers in the cake. So our final doctrine, Urban Assault. I think this is an easy S tier, and I think, do you want to go into why?
I think this is a low S tier, to be honest, and I will allow you to go first.
All right, let's have a conversation. First off, Rangers lead the way. Rangers already. Bazooka upgrade, solid against armor. Thompson upgrade, solid against infantry. The Calliope is amazing already, so that's 2 reasons why the 2 best units the Americans have, boom, up in the top. Then you add in the ability to throw Molotov cocktails riflemen. Nice bonus. What's the real perk? Giving her echelons rifle grenades, which take out enemy forces automatically from a distance. Combine that with the ability for the Sherman to get bonus armor to stand up against Panzer IVs and Panthers, so that way they can survive a bit longer. Combine the fact that you also get an ability where, oh, there's enemy forces. Oh man, you don't have smoke? No worries, it automatically drops smoke for you and it makes them run. So again, it's an automatic ability. If you are a newer player, I recommend this doctrine because a lot of the bonuses are automatic abilities, like that smoke cover, like the Echelon. That way you don't have to worry on micro as much, but it can still be an effective unit or effective ability to have as a bonus. Same thing with the Shermans, keeps your units alive better. And I believe it also allows the Sherman to fire white phosphorus as well. So because of all those abilities, to me, if I'm going for the best American commander, in my mind, Urban Assault is #1 in terms of that commander list. But what is your counterpoint?
My counterpoint is you are wrong. My counterpoint is we're in a 3v3 or 4v4 setting. So
yes. If
you are in a 3v3 4v4 setting, what are the other factions that you're playing with? Most of the time, you're going to have a Soviet. What do the Soviet have? Katyushas. And that pretty much solves your rocket arty. Calliope is an amazing unit when it hits, but the problem is, and the reason why it's better, why the Priest is superior, is because most of the time, right, you're in a situation where you're fighting infantry. Like, the Calliope can be great, but the Priest can also do exactly that by knocking out field and fortified locations. So you're going after similar targets with the 2. And the Calliope doesn't have the range compared to the Priest. The Priest can, like, outrange it pretty easily and also ensure that the damage is done. Now, the Calliope is kind of really a risk because you usually have to get it to the front. You have to bring it close because the best time to use this is a scatter shot. And I'm sorry, but if you lose it, it's such a crippling thing. Now, don't be wrong. It has its moments. It can do very well. But as someone once told me, if you have to rely on the Calliope to win your infantry game, then you're not playing. You're already behind. Like, cover to cover is good, but it's 60 munitions. It costs a lot, and while your infantry runs,
it's better than the smoke, the 50 munition smoke.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Rangers are great. I'm not going to argue with that one. The Sherman Assault package, meh. Like, it's good if you.
It's an extra shot. It's an extra shot it can take. Literally, it's that extra bit of protection.
But you're slowing yourself down. Like the ability of the Sherman to run is like what makes it so good. Is it's fast, has armor.
Yeah.
Like, by slowing it down, you're ensuring the enemy can shoot you one more time. Like,
but you're also getting all the bonuses that the Bulldozer Sherman gets, like building cover and such, without necessarily needing to get the dumb bulldozer a howitzer attachment for the bulldozer howitzer.
Yeah, which is, I guess, if your teammate wants cover, you can use it, but then why not just use your rear echelons to build?
Because you can also make tank ditches to make sure. Yeah, you can make tank ditches as well automatically.
True. But usually, in regards to when you're sealing up a side, you don't put a whole bunch of tank ditches. Like, you just put your rear echelons to put the tank traps back and forth. Like, that's what I think of.
And what's your counterpoint to the rear echelon grenade?
No, the rear echelon grenade is S tier. The fire grenade, or the Molotov cocktail, is low S, high A. It's really good as well. But it can't make up for the fact that this doesn't have a direct strike. So like if you go this instead of the priest, right?
Yeah.
And they have artillery, and no one else goes something, you're boned. Like you're like, whereas if I go priest, I can not only use it against infantry positions and fortifications, but I can also have a call-in that can also help with that. Most of the time,
yes.
Most of the time, I would say that the rocket arty should be given to the Soviets to use because they are going to be the ones that maximize it. The Calliope is still great. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that the Katyusha takes its role at a cheaper price.
Yes.
And what you could get instead is really, really, like, it's outclasses in every way. Like, so the Calliope is an A tier unit, or an S tier unit when it's inflicted, but I would say in a 3v3 or 4v4 game, you are sacrificing something to get it, right? Like, there is a sacrifice for this doctrine. This one unit carries it, your infantry ability carries it, but you are sacrificing something. And I cannot tell you how many times I have gone the Calliope. I've stopped recently going the Calliope because my teammates don't go direct strikes, and we undervalue that, and we'll die. And I, as the American, I feel like I need, like, the priest is the perfect replacement. In a situation where you have a direct strike, go for it. But the priest just is the priest commander. It just is everything you need all in one.
And
like
again, I keep hearing this. But here's the thing I want to point out. So you say and again, I do not doubt the priest is a higher and better unit than the Calliope. I agree.
Yep.
But, and I also agree the time on target is a great barrage. Are the other 3 abilities in Infantry Company as good as what you said, the Calliope, the Rear Echelon Grenade, the Rangers all being S tier? Technically, was it cover to cover is slightly more expensive, but you get way more smoke and additional speed bonuses. So I would consider that one of the better abilities than the smoke barrage and, let's say, heavy cav. And then I would also say the Sherman upgrade is, at least to me, a B or A tier thing. So overall, I think everything you get is exceptional. Can you say the same for all the abilities in Infantry Company?
Yeah, I could do one better. I can say, how is a Calliope better than a good player using the Scott, the little mobile howitzer? Like, in the right hands, that gives you smoke, that gives you a direct barrage. That is exactly what you need. Like, because I used to be in your camp. I used to be very much behind the Calliope, one of the best units in the game, and it is. But what it does is also done a little bit by that howitzer. It can put down smoke, it can do a barrage, it can hit infantry from afar. And yes, it doesn't have the infantry wiping capability of the Calliope. But a smart Axis player is not going to allow you to do what you want with the Calliope. Whereas they can't stop you from using a priest against your fortifications. So, like...
Okay, so how about this? It is
I will
above Airborne.
I will allow it to be above Airborne, even though I don't believe that. I will allow it. I will give into this concession. But the best doctrine in this, for the Americans, is the priest.
Oh, is Infantry Company. You're saying the best company is Infantry Company.
The priest commander. I forget the names, but you know.
All right. So we have you have the priest, aka Infantry Company. Yep. We have Urban Assault. And we have the Airborne. Okay. Next up, we have Recon Support, then Mechanized. Is that fine with you? Okay.
Yes.
Then we have Tac Support, Armor Company, and Heavy Cav. Is that good with you?
I'm tempted to put Armor Company at the top of B, and just to get the.
If you do that, I'm automatically going to move it to the bottom in my head.
Okay, we'll keep it there. We'll keep it there.
And then Rifle Company C tier. I don't think Rifle Company is D tier because it's still fine. It's like manageable, but again, in a 3v3, 4v4, I feel like other commanders are better.
Yep.
But hey, that's our list. let us know down below what you guys think, because oh boy, I bet there are going to be comments. I bet you there are going to be comments.
Yep, it's going to sound like I'm rambling about the Calliope, and I definitely was, but I have had a light shown on me. I've seen the light, and I've realized that the Calliope, while a great unit, you can't rely on it. It cannot be the crutch, because that's what it is in a game. It is the crutch to murder enemy infantry, and you can't allow that.
But again, we're not saying the Calliope is a crutch. We're saying which one is the best commander. And overall, I think Urban Assault's the best, but I will agree with you because you spend way more time on USF than I do. So I will take your advice and put Infantry Company as number 1 in a 3v3, 4v4 environment, then Urban Assault, Paratrooper, then we have Recon Support, Mechanized, TAC Support, Armor Company, Heavy Cav, and finally, Rifle Company. How's it, man?
I should also stress that we mentioned a lot of these are better in 1v1 and 2v2 scenarios.
Yes.
Just in case you're skipping to the end. I know you, Johnny. I know that's exactly what you did.
Johnny's like, why is that commander a B tier? It's great in 1v1. We're not saying 1v1. It's 3v3 and 4v4.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you all for watching. Next time we'll be covering probably the Austere, the Wehrmacht, I would assume.
Oh god. Yeah, I'm gonna need a refresher on that one.
Yeah, well, luckily, I have a cheat sheet, so it's great. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see all of you next time.
Later.
Hello, everyone. Before y'all go, you can check out more content above. You can subscribe, and you can hear as I talk about some amazing people who support me on Patreon, which include Folkvard, Aphyria, Joey G240, Milam, Ace, ShinobiWarrior, Pyroshark, XSomeToolx, Epic Pleb. Thank you all for your incredible support. You literally help this channel keep on growing, so thank you. If you want to support the channel, again, check out some of the stuff I mentioned. Otherwise, I'll see all of you next time.